All right, this is Jeff Durkin with We Are Change Connecticut. We're also here with Derrick, Broze of the Houston Free Thinkers. We're here at the post-Bradley Manning sentencing conference. We're here with Michael Ratner, the president of the Center for Constitutional Rights, and also the attorney for Julian Assange as well. Michael, thanks for coming out, and tell us your reaction to the sentencing today. And you were also in the courtroom as well, so maybe your thoughts on the whole thing in general.
Yeah, I'm in a small courtroom, a lot of supporters there. Very brief hearing compared to the hours and hours we've had to sit through before. The judge came out, she basically said, you're getting 35 years in prison. And I think we were all shocked by it. It's an unconscionable sentence. It's unconscionable in many ways. First, I don't think Bradley Manning should have ever been prosecuted at all. He's someone who was revealing ugly truths about our country, about torture, killing of civilians, etc. And that kind of person is the kind of person we need, people of conscience who see dark secrets like that and come forward and tell the American people about them. That's what we need in a country that is just built on secrecy and criminality. So having Bradley prosecuted at all, to me, was outrageous. But then if you look also at the length of the sentence, I mean, it's completely crazy. The government claimed that people were injured by what he did, people were killed. The one guy they then put on the witness stand, the claim immediately fell to pieces. So essentially you have no one being injured or killed as a result of any of these revelations. In fact, what happened is the American people are able to know much more about what their government is doing. So what the government did is they then brought this indictment against him for 6 counts of espionage, aiding the enemy, Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, stealing government documents. They way overcharged him. So he had the potential of getting 136 years. Then it got reduced to 90 that he could possibly get. Then when he gets 35, people feel relieved. Oh, it's not so bad. He can get parole. He can get this. He can get that. But in fact, he got a 35-year sentence. And in fact, the only reason people have any relief is because this government, in its punitive nature, was trying to get more, perhaps, 135, and they were overcharging him. So 35 looks like, oh, he did okay, but that's not okay. He shouldn't have done a year. He should have gotten time served. He should be pardoned now. And what's really striking to me, really striking, Obama takes office, and we know at this point all of the admitted torturers in the prior administration. We know Cheney, we know Bush, we know Condoleezza Rice. It's open, public, and notorious that they engaged in a torture program against hundreds, perhaps thousands of people all over the world, apart from the illegal Iraq War and everything else. And what does Obama say? This is not a time for prosecution of those people. It's not a time for investigation. It's a time to look forward and not backward. So at the same time as they're hitting Bradley Manning for exposing torture, and some of the documents exposed an amazing torture camp in Iraq run by Petraeus and others from the United States. At the same time as Bradley Manning is exposing that, Obama is basically giving immunity to the torturers from the prior administration. And not only immunity, but actually continuing to appoint them to run our government. So there's nothing that you can say is fair about the fact that those who torture go free and those who expose torture and criminality get imprisoned for 35 years. So it's extremely upsetting. At the same time, we're seeing a real fight back, not only on behalf of Bradley Manning, but on behalf of many other whistleblowers who have come out, whether it's Jeremy Hammond, Barrett Brown, Julian Assange, many others, Ed Snowden, obviously. So we're at a crucial point in the country where we're really struggling over, are we going to have a secret government that surveils us and does criminality behind closed doors, or are we going to have an open government and one in which we can control our own destinies? And I think what's happening now, in that way I'm optimistic, that there are people like Bradley Manning, and even after what's happened to Bradley Manning, that Ed Snowden came forward, is remarkable. Or people like Jeremy Hammond, who are going into the even bigger problem of corporate spying in this country. So while it's a very bad day in the sense that a young man who was a young person of conscience and that you'd like to see many more of is going to face 35 years in prison, it is a moment in which there's a struggle going on in this country, and hopefully we will see Bradley Manning get out of that prison much earlier than 35 years.
Yeah, I liked the way you touched upon that, saying the hypocrisy of it compared to other war criminals, Bush, Cheney, all the other ones who are still basically walking free. Meanwhile, Bradley Manning served his 35 years. Do you see more of a trend where people continually know about it, or more people know about it after, based on the media coverage that's been on? Again, it's almost like a bad thing in a way, but the trend is continuing where more, the word is getting out there about Bradley Manning and whistleblowers in general. Do you see it that way?
Yes, I think Obama's under attack now. I think the administration is. The Snowden stuff put him over. But altogether, they've had the most attacks on whistleblowers of any administration in history. Obama's been completely lying to the American public about all of the spying they've done, about his so-called guarantees for whistleblowers, about his claim that he's not going to invoke secrecy. And I think the conviction of Bradley Manning and the sentencing of 35 years, on top of revelations that 75% of our communications that we send outside the country have their content looked at by the NSA, and that young people are fleeing away from Obama, and then he goes and he gets convicted. He convicts a 25-year-old man of 35 years in prison for revealing those secrets. I think it looks bad for him. I think the administration's on the defensive on these issues, but of course they're like a wounded animal, and they're fighting back. I mean, what we've seen in the last week is terrifying. I mean, apart from, the 35-year sentence, Glenn Greenwald's partner, the destruction of the hard drives at The Guardian, the forcing down of Evo Morales' plane that supposedly had Snowden on it. We're seeing an incredible effort by the powerful countries in the world, particularly the UK and the US, to try and stop the leaks that are whistleblowing in the best sense of that word.
All right, Michael. Thank you very much.
You.
I really
I
appreciate it.
I like your last piece of line.